there, YouTube. I'm back here today for another game review. Today I'm very excited to check out Trade on the Tigris from Taste Your Mental Games. It's for 3 to 6 players. Take about 60 to 90 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus. And in Trade on the Tigris, this, as you guessed from the name, is a trading game where you're going to be trading goods. But that's not all. That'd be underselling the game if I just said it was that, because it has a political track and it has a religion track, which you're going to be going up and down on, or I should say left and right on. And the further you go to the left or the right, the better cards you're going to get. But you don't want to go too far, because then you become a zealot or a fanatic and you only get level 1 cards. And these level cards that you get from religion and politics just do all sorts of crazy, interesting stuff. It's a very open, free-form, hectic trading game, but is it good? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Trade on the Tigris. So first and foremost, we have a handy dandy rule booklet. It's 12 pages, double-sided, full color, full of plenty of pictures, illustrations, examples. It is very well done. It should have you up and running in no time at all. So big thumbs up on the rule booklet. So in Trade in the Tigris, you are going to be trying to acquire the most oh-so-sweet victory points in a variety of different ways. One of the primary ways is you're going to be trading in different types of goods, and the more you have of that said good, the more points you're going to get. But you also are going to have to keep track of how religious you are or are not, or how government-y you are or are not, because that's going to give you better cards, but it's also going to give you victory points at the end of the game. There's a couple of other different ways to get victory points, like cards and barbarians and whatnot, or lose victory points, but we'll talk about that as we progress through the gameplay. So let's go over the components, get into the gameplay. So first, component-wise, I want to talk about this big main board right here, because it's going to explain a lot of the cards on the outside. So, in this game, you're not just acquiring goods. You're not just getting this thing of barley and then trading it. Because here on the bottom, it's also going to have you moving up and down religion and government tracks. And the further you go one way or the other way on the track, the better cards you were going to draw during what's called the development phase. And I'll explain this a little bit more later. But what you need to know is level 3 development cards are absolutely fantastic, and level 0 government cards kind of suck. So you're going to want to move yourself over on that track. But much as in real life, you don't want to go too far left or too far right and become an extremist or a zealot or a fanatic in religion or government. If you go all the way over to the side, while you are still going to get a lot of victory points at the end of the game, you're going to start drawing level 1 cards, which kind of stink. So that's what all these cards are, and that's what the two boards are. You also have these double-sided cards right here, which is a really interesting aspect of the game. You're going to be able to trade these cards, and you will acquire these cards by acquiring these cards down here. Some of them will say, acquire card number 39. And so now you would have this card every single round to trade with other people. And this card's going to let you move up or down on the religion track. So next component-wise, we got barbarians over here, and we have harps. Some of the cards are going to require you to take barbarians. Barbarians are bad because whoever has the most barbarians at the end of the round is going to have to deal with a barbarian attack. On the flip side, harps are great, and if you have the most harps at the end of the round, you go into a golden age, which means you'll be able to gain a card that you potentially might not have been able to gain before. So let's just say you're really far over on the Ashore track, you could get a Marduk card, which is going to diversify what you have in front of you and make life a little bit easier for you. Next, we have the goods. You're going to have basic goods and import goods right here. The basic goods are going to be things like fish and goat and flax. And the important thing you need to note on these is it's not that you're just trading fish or goat or flax, but you're also trading democracy or culture or different things like that, dictatorship. And when you have one of these cards at the end and you turn in one of these cards to sell your fish, you're actually going to have to move those spaces on the track. So that adds an extra element to the game. The import goods are very similar, but they'll have some nicer things like bronze and iron and clay, but they also will have some of these red cards right here, and the red cards are very, very bad. So this one's going to send barbarians to you. This one is going to make you get rid of 2 of your harps. So these ones are bad, which is why when you're trading, you only have to mention and be honest about the things on the top. You don't have to mention the things on the bottom, which can lead to some lying and some conniving going on in the game. Next, you're going to have your player board right here. It's a very useful player board. Over here, you're going to be keeping track of your barbarians and your harps. You're going to have 3 spots to store things in your warehouse. We'll explain a little bit later. This lexicon is incredibly useful. It has all the different symbols on the cards you're going to see and how barbarian attacks and golden age work, what color pawns you have. And then over here is just the turn order and how much you're going to get for different types of goods when you trade them in. Last but not least, everybody's going to start with some cards. You're going to start with a starting merchant, which, as you can see down here on that little symbol, is going to give you 1 import good every single time you get to the production phase. And then over here, you're going to have a whole bunch of starting workers, which will gain you the basic goods, which once again, you'll be gaining during the production phase because all of the cards are color-coded, something I really like about this game. So for instance, I know that this is going to happen during the pink phase, and I know this is going to happen during the green phase, and I know this is going to happen during the red phase. It makes it a lot easier to sort things out. But let's talk about the gameplay. So let's just go over the 5 different phases and I'll give you a feel for how the game works. So first you're going to have the development phase. This is where you're going to look where you are on both the religion and the government track, and you're going to take 2 cards of the number that you're at. So right now we would get 2 government cards and 2 religion 0 cards. So 2 government 0 cards and 2 religion 0 cards. And you are going to pick one of the cards from each type. And there's a lot to look at these cards. So this one immediately is going to move me 1 left on the red track, the Marduk track. But it's also going to gain me card 33, which if I recall correctly, because I think I actually had somebody have this card before, that is going to mean that you can pretty much tell people to join Marduk every round. It's going to be something that you are going to be able to trade every round. Of course, it's not in order. 33. Oh, there it is. Is that? No, it's 35. There it is. Yeah, and it actually was. It was moving that space every single time. So this is going to be a card that you are going to have to trade every single time. Now, and it's not per producer, which means if you keep it, it's not going to allow you to move left on the track. But this is a nice thing that you'll be able to trade. So that might be something you might potentially take. You also could take this one, which will move you 1 over on that track, but it will also gain you 1 blue card. So it would also get you a import good card every single time we go to the production phase. So that would actually be a pretty difficult decision for me. For me personally, I would probably choose this one. Then over here during the civic phase, we would go 1 toward, let's see, I believe that is dictatorship. Yep, that's moving 1 towards dictatorship every time we get to the pink phase. And this one is we're going to gain 1 basic good every single time. So you know what? I would probably take those 2, and then you're put these cards back over here, and you're going to end up reshuffling all of them back into the deck once everybody's decided. So you're all going to reveal these at the same time. You're going to collect whatever you need to do, and then you're going to move on to what is called the production phase, the green phase right here. This is where you're going to look at all the green symbols you have, and you're going to collect it. So for me, I would be collecting 5 basic goods, and 1 import good, and then I would always get back my card 33. So no one can ever store this card, which will make more sense later. So once everybody has collected their production cards, done all their stuff, then you get to what is called the trade phase. And the trade phase, they recommend setting up a 5-minute timer. We kind of laughed at that the first round, and then after that, I was like, oh yeah, I see why we need this, especially towards the 4th and the 5th round. So the trading in this game is just very free form. It's very wild, wild west. About the only thing you can't trade are the production cards over here, but everything in your hand, you can trade harps, you can trade barbarians, you can trade these cards, and you want to trade these cards, but your goal is to try and get points by set collection pretty much. So I have, 2 goats, clay, and a bronze, so I probably might be trying to go for goat and flax. But at the same time, oh yeah, actually this would be great because I'm going to be going left on the Marduk track and I want to go left on the dictatorship track. So yeah, I would definitely want to keep these. So I would try to trade off these 2 and I would trade off this one. And this is a very open freeform thing. Everybody's going to be talking. You can do 3-way trades. You can do uneven trades. You can just do straight up swaps. I mean, there's all sorts of pretty much. The only limit to the trading is how much you want to limit yourself. The thing you need to remember is you can never lie about what's on top of the card. Now, you can lie about what's on the bottom. You can be like, I got a flax with democracy. You think somebody really wants democracy? I got a flax with democracy. Flax with democracy. Boom. They take that and they're like, oh, what in the world? Now, also, there are the red cards that are going to come into play, and those ones are super bad. Luckily, though, you still have time to trade those cards. And so your goal then would be to get rid of the spices, because if you receive this card in a trade, remember who traded it to you. When you resolve this card, that player gains 2 points. You lose 2 points, whether received in a trade or not. So you would definitely want to try and trade this away to someone else so you could gain the 2 points and they would lose the 2 points. But it's going to be all fast. It's going to be all frantic for about 5 minutes. And then once you're done, you get to what's called the mercantile phase. This is where you're going to turn in your sets of goods and your special trade cards to gain point tokens. So how does it work? If I have 2 flax, I get 1 point. If I have 3 flax, 2 points, 4 points, you get it. It's pretty simple set collection there. But what's interesting is you also can store up to 3 cards in your warehouse down here. So let's say that I'm not quite ready to move towards dictatorship or to turn in my flax. Then I can move both those cards down there, and then I pull them out during the beginning of the next trade phase. I think you'd actually pull it out in the production phase. It doesn't really matter. But you're going to gain all the barbarians and all the harps and all that different sort of stuff, and then you move down to the civic phase. And since I have a civic card right here, I would actually move 1 toward dictatorship every single time I go to the civic phase. But during the civic phase, if you have the most barbarian tokens, you are going to get attacked. You're going to lose barbarians, but you're also going to lose your oh-so-sweet victory points. And if you have the most harps, you're going to lose your harps, most of your harps, but then you're also going to get a card, either the first round, a level 1 card, level 2 card, level 3 card, or 7 victory points for the last round. And you just get to draw a card, and, you know, it's probably going to be a pretty sweet card that you're going to be able to play down here, and it's going to, affect your tableau. The other thing I want to mention is there's also symbols on these cards. You might see these symbols right here, and the symbols will have a whole bunch of impact because other people are going to be attacking you, and sometimes you're going to be attacking other people, and sometimes it's like if you have more of these, then you get to do certain stuff, or everybody gets to do certain stuff. There's a wide variety of cards in here that do all sorts of different stuff. You're going to do that over the course of 5 rounds, total up your victory points. Whoever has the most points will be the winner of Trade on the Tigris. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty, the Trade on the Tigris from Tasty Mystical Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a variety of different reasons. 3 to 6 players. Oh, I heart the fact that this game goes to 6 players, but 3 players was not a game that I'd want to play again. It's not a bad game, but after playing it at the higher player counts, you were probably never going to want to play it at the lower player counts. This game excels at 5 and 6. Now, I will say I got a chance to play it at 3, 5, and 6. I did not get a chance to play it at 4, so I can't speak to that, but it was leaps and bounds better at the higher player counts because you just have more people to trade with, and it's just more interesting. You're going to get more of those double-sided cards out, which I love the cards because there's cards in the game which you can see all the information, whereas most of the time you will not be able to see the information. Another con that I have with this game is that some people I played it with, actually I think probably 2 or 3 people that I played this with, did not like the disaster cards. This game is already difficult enough as it is and already stressful enough as it is, especially once you get to that 4th and 5th round where you have this massive hand of cards. You're like, how am I possibly going to trade this? I can't go too far on the dictatorship track, but at the same time I have to be sure that I'm balancing the religion. At the same time I can't get these barbarians because there's barbarians, and at the same time I want to get these harp things because I want to have a golden age, and I'm pretty close to getting the golden age, and then I have to worry about getting these other 3 cards that I have right here because the 3 cards, the double-sided cards that I talked about that I really liked, you have to get those out of your hand if you want to gain the bonuses. So you're trying to just balance all this stuff at the same time while still trying to get sets of goods in order to gain points, and it's just wow, it's a lot. And then throwing in the red cards, the storm cards and the lie cards that allow you to lie or deceive or just kind of screw your plan up. I can understand why people don't like those cards. I personally really enjoy them, but I definitely understand why people don't like those cards. And I think some people are just going to choose to not play with those cards because there's enough you have to worry about in this game without having to worry about getting screwed over with some of these red cards. Now, that being said, they're not terrible cards, but they will put a damper on your day. Any other cons that I have with the game? I would like more religion. I would like more 3 cards. So in the center, you're going to have 0 cards, 1 cards, 2 cards, 3 cards. And what I found is once you get to those 3s, the 3s are super powerful, as they should be, but I just wish there was more variety of cards, because I remember there was one game where I think it was 2 times I ended up drawing from the 3 pile, and I got the same card twice. Now, you get 2 cards to pick from, which I really like how they do that, but still, I would just like more cards. And if this game gets an expansion in the future, I definitely think more cards is something I would love to see, just because, not saying that there's not enough cards, I'm just saying that I loved the different types of cards in the game, and I want to see more of them. Last comment I have in this game is if you don't like trading, if you don't like negotiation, if you do not like being timed and being stressed out, this is not going to be a game for you. I played this game, and I loved it. I really love this game, but it's the kind of game where I look at my wife, and I'm like, she does not like timed games. She does not like being stressed out during games. She would hate this game. I'm not saying that in a negative way towards her. It's a fact. This is a stressful game. Despite the fact it's a very light and simple game, it feels like when you're done with it, it's been like a Stefan Feld game where you're like, oh man, I need a break. Let's be done for the night, or let's play a light, simple, stupid party game or a dexterity game or a filler game or something like that, because this game takes it all out of you. Moving on to the pros, though. I really freaking enjoyed Trade on the Tigris, and the more I thought about this game after playing it, the more I really like this game. Now, that being said, I would not play it again at 3 players, but 5 and 6 players, man, it's so much fun, and I love trade negotiations. I want to start off by saying that I love wheeling and dealing and trying to figure out how things can happen, and we potentially had like 3-way deals. But what do I like about this game? Let's start off. I like how clean and clear all the cards are. There's going to be tons and tons and tons of cards in front of you. That's another comment I have in this game that some people are going to have. I didn't personally mind it, but when you're playing at the higher player counts, most of the time you're going to have no clue what anybody else is doing and what anybody's cards in front of them are, unless they directly impact you, because you're going to have a whole bunch of cards in your tableau over here that you're going to acquire, and those cards are going to do a wide variety of different things. Some will attack, some will gain you points, some will get rid of bandits, some will do this or that or this or that, and there's way too much in this game that you're going to have to worry about anybody else's stuff, and I know some people do not like that. I personally didn't mind it, but it is something that I did want to mention. But moving on to the pros, there's a really wide variety of cards, and I love how the religion and the politics system works. So the further you get out, the more powerful they get. But that's also another comment of the game that somebody did mention to me, is that it felt like if you did not branch out one way or the other on the religion and politics tracks, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage because other people are going to be getting better cards than you, and a lot of those cards are persistent. So if someone is able to race out to 3 really early, they're going to start getting 3 cards and 3 cards and 3 cards. And while there are a few ways you can attack them and potentially knock them back or knock them towards the very far right or the very far left, it's difficult to do. So as long as a person is smart enough to manage their hand properly, chances are they're going to stay in the 3 area for the majority of the game. So yeah, I think that is the last comment I had. But moving on to the pros, again, I really liked how the religion and politics structure worked, and I like going through the different cards. I like the fact you always get to draw 2 cards, even though I was kind of annoyed that you have to shuffle the cards over and over and over again, and they're little micro cards, which kind of stinks. But I like how you always have 4 cards to pick with. I really like that phase where it's like, all right, I got these 4 cards right here. Which one do I want? Ooh, this one's going to synergize with this. Ooh, this would be really well for this. Oh, this one's going to give me more goods, and this one's going to give this. And I like that. I love, love, love the double-sided cards. The cards that you can earn, they're just yours. They are trading things that you have for the rest of the game. Like maybe you're going hard on the religion tracks, and now you can give out a religion each and every time. You're like, who wants this religion? Who wants Marduk? Marduk, come to our Lord and Savior Marduk. Marduk, Marduk. And eventually someone's going to be like, oh, I'll give you a clay for it. And you're like, I don't really need a clay, but sure, here you go. Marduk for clay. Because you just want to get it out of your hand. But let me talk about that trading phase. That is my favorite trading phase in any game ever, period. Hands down. I love the negotiation. I love the trade. I love the timed aspect. I love the frantic nature. I love the fact that you can get creative with your trades. Be like, I don't really like this trade, so I like that Marduk for clay thing. I like it. Let me throw in, along with my Marduk, a barbarian. I'll throw a barbarian to you. And I'm like, I don't know about that. And you're like, come on, a barbarian. They take the trade, and it's just wheeling and dealing. Everybody's like, I got 2 of these. I got 2 of these. Be like, I got 4 of these. I want to get rid of 4 of these. And I like that all. I also really like the fact that you're able to put in 3 cards into your warehouse. That is super nice. It allows for a lot of forward planning. It also allows you to be able to not get bumped on the religion or politics track too much, because you can put those cards back down here and then you can trade them off later. I love the fact that those double-sided cards, I want to go back to them because I just love those cards. I want to see all the cards in the game eventually. I love the fact that you have to get rid of them or they do nothing. Like just holding on to them, except for some very rare occasions, is not going to help you. So you actively have to be trying to push those out the door and pushing the issues. And what you'll get in the end normally is they'll have 2 or 3 people with those cards left and be like, how about we just do a swap? Let's just do a swap. Let's do a swap. But it's like you're worried that someone else is going to jump in there with a better offer because you know your offer kind of stinks. So you're like, come on, let's do this. Let's do this. I love how exhausting this game is. I love how the rounds ramp up. Like the first time we played, the very first round, and actually, I really enjoyed doing this the very first time we played, where it's like, it says you need a 5-minute set timer. Actually, I should say, the first time I played with other people who had not played the game. So after my first game, but it would be my second and third game, yeah. Anyway, I like people's reaction. It's like, we don't even really need the 5-minute sand timer. We were done well before that. And then by the end of the game, it's just like, oh my gosh, can we make it 6 minutes? Because you have to be worried about where you are in the religion and politics track. And you have to be worried about your barbarians. And you have to be worried about your heart. And you have to be worried about all these sort of different things. And I really did enjoy that. So in the end, trade on the Tigris. I love the special cards. I love the double-sided cards. I love the politic tracks and the religion tracks. I love having to worry about the barbarians. I have to love... I just love the game. I think it's a great, absolutely great game. The only thing negative that I really have to say about the game, for me on a personal level, is that I would never, ever play it again 3 players. And quite honestly, I wouldn't grab this as a 4-player game as well. So, that's the biggest thing that I have for this game, is that I cannot... Well, I do think it's still a very, very good game to potentially great game at 3 and 4 players. It excels, and it's ideal at a 5 and 6 player game, but if I have 6 players, you better bet that this is going up there with Corporate America. It is one of those games I'm going to grab. Trade on the Tigris from Tasty Pistol Game is absolutely fantastic. Very, very great game. Almost a Bauer's best seal, but 3 and 4 players just hinder it down a little bit. Still, spectacular game. Highly recommend checking this one out, especially if you like trading, negotiation, bribery, all that good stuff. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know. Tigris, Tugris, how do you pronounce the word? I personally don't care. I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of people correcting me in the comments, but let me know. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.